Great. So Elsa and Adesola, your screen is presenting nicely, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dana, and hi, everyone. My name is Elsa Rousset, and I'm an urban planner working for Justice and Empowerment Initiatives, which is the supportive NGO of the Nigerian Slum and Informal Settlement Federation. And I'm joined today with Adesola, Adelani Dada, which is a community data collector here in Lagos. So today we're going to focus mainly about a study that we just finished, which was an informal settlement household energy survey. But just before I jump into this, because COVID-19 has been such a big part of our year, and it's impossible to not mention this when speaking about the work we've been doing this year. I just want to point that we, during the lockdown that took place in Lagos in March and April, we switched our usual data collection processes, and we created a phone survey in order to monitoring the situation in the different community and understand the different impact that the lockdown and the pandemic had on the communities. And you can find the report as well as our recommendation on our website. But today, the main point we'd like to share with you is the study we've made on energy access and consumption in informal settlement. This project was made hand in hand with C40 and the Lagos State Ministry of Environment. Because I know today we're having quite an international audience, I would like to give a brief introduction of Lagos as a city and the kind of relationship and dynamics we see between the government and the informal communities, especially when speaking about trust. So I hope it's working, and if it's working, you should see now a picture of one of the most famous informal settlements of Lagos, Makoko, and some useful number for you to have an introduction of Lagos. What I would like to say is that when speaking about trust between informal communities and the state and government in general, the historic relationship that we've seen between those two has been this post-eviction and displacement. In the 90s, Morocco has been demolished, pushing out of the city more than 300,000 inhabitants. In 2017, the Lagos State government declared that more than a dozen of waterfront communities should be demolished. Most of them were saved, but Otodobame was demolished and evicted, making more than 30,000 people homeless overnight. And even at the beginning of this year, we've seen the demolition and eviction of more than a dozen of communities. One of the most known named Takwabe, making more than 10,000 people homeless. So when trying to making studies and trying to involving and making informal community participating in such studies, the question of trust and the question of security is one of the biggest points. And we, hand in hand with Federation, have been working hard in making sure that we can act as an intermediary between government and the community, and most important, between communities and government. And that's what the key role we've been playing during this exercise of energy survey. So we designed this survey hand in hand with C40 and Ministry of Environment in order to understand how people get access to energy and how people use energy, mainly for lighting and for cooking. We also had a bunch of questions about behavior change. Would they be interested into using more renewable and more greener source of energy? And we also did an appliance inventory in order to understand how much people consume through their different appliances. All the different data we gathered through this process is being gathered in order to really include informal settlement into the climate resilient action plan of the government. And the survey we developed has more than 200 questions. We've deployed it in 150 communities. we've done more than 3,000 surveys. And you can see on the screen now the breakdown between the different LGA of Lagos. We reached 16 different LGA, which is the definition of Lagos Metropolitan. And it was a first for us to be able to lead such an exercise, such a study at the citywide level. So just as a way for you all to get a better sense, this is a map showing you the 150 different communities we reached, and each color is a different LG. So I'm going to speak mostly about like how we create trust with partners, mainly here in this case, C40 and the Ministry of Environment. And then Adesola will speak more about like how to create trust with the communities in general and with the people we survey. And so that will show how we are playing into those different levels. So when doing such work and when collecting data in general, I think, and I want to thank them again, I think our brothers and sisters from India have been doing a perfect job laying out the main principle we follow as an affiliate of SDF. We have some key principles that we want to apply anytime we are collecting data. One of the most important being nothing about us without us, which means that anytime we're collecting data about any communities, that needs to be done into a participatory way, making sure the community is playing a role. So that's why we always follow community-led approach to data collection. So for this specific exercise, the way we've been able to do it is by creating some LGA-specific teams. So Adesola will explain more how his team was organized. And we trained more than 94 surveyors that have been able to conduct the survey into the 16 LG. When looking at the different surveyors we want to train, we looked at different factors. So of course, where they're from, so we know which part of the city they can reach. And that was also very important for us as we're still in a COVID-19 context, so we didn't want people to move from one side of the city to another. And we wanted to limit the chance of spreading, I mean, anything, or like we didn't want to expose any community, so we wanted people to be relatively close to where they live. We make sure that we have some balance regarding gender, regarding ethnicity and language diversity to make sure that we are able to reach most people. And then we were also making sure that we include some people living with disability to join the exercise to really show that it's a truly inclusive process. And this for us is a way also to do a bit like to show our value and to make them into reality, but also to showcase them as something that is possible. Because when we work hand in hand with governmental partners or international partners, sometimes those very big institutions do not really know how they can do such a study in an inclusive way. And so we really believe in like the example of doing. And so we tell them like, it is possible to lead such a study, and making sure we have gender balance, making sure we include some people living with disabilities, making sure we have representativity between ethnicity and others. And that also is a way to get an accurate and true data. So when doing this, there's also the idea that once we are done collecting the data, we will go back to the communities and first presenting the data, but also asking for validation of the data. So that is a step forward into the participation of the community. It's not only that they will give the data, they will receive some, but they will also validate some. And this is very important for us as a way to make sure that we are truly being participatory in a way to collect the data. So when speaking about the trust question regarding collection data, we really rely on the work we've been doing on ground for years now. We rely as well on the fact that we are part into a global a global network, so the SDI network that's been presented earlier. And we always make sure that we are able to lay down an actual plan, and making sure and showing to everyone how we are going to do the work, how we're going to make sure communities are part of it, and how we're going to make sure that the data we're going to collect are going to be used in a useful way. So I don't want to take much more time, because I think all the very interesting points and most of the interesting thing is going to be shared by my colleague Adesola, who's been actually on the ground for, I think, for weeks doing this survey. So I'm going to leave the floor for Adesola now.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. My name is Adesola Adelani Dada, and I am a member of Nigerian Federation in Lagos. I am from Akinola community under IDEAMAPS local government in Lagos. And IDEAMAPS local government happens to be the largest local government in Lagos. So talking about the household energy survey that we just completed in conjunction with C40 and the Lagos State Ministry of Environment. Just like my colleague said, in doing the survey, trust is a big deal there. First, before we even got the privilege of being the one to take over the project from government have looked at our antecedents and say what we've been doing in informal and slum settlement for a while. So they felt that we are closer to the people who are living in the slum and informal settlements. And it's better for us to be the one to take over that project and survey. So looking by our antecedents, we're given the job. That's a bit of trust that they have in us. Then the trust issue too, because we know that in Nigeria, government and the citizen, they're kind of a disconnect. Just like my colleague said, there have been issues of government coming over, take people's land, evict them over. And so when people see you coming to their community and tell them that there's something you're doing in conjunction with the government, they get skeptical. They really want to know why you are there. Is this not going to lead to some other things that have happened in the past? So we need to, when we go into communities, we first of all have to bridge the gap. Whatever it has been a misunderstanding or misinformation from the part of people, we need to sit down with them and then try to clarify it so they can accept us. For communities that we are already existing, I mean by communities where we already have our savings group, where we really have our umbrella there, we don't really have much challenges there because we already have people there. We know who to talk to, we know the leaders there. But the issue of the household energy gave us opportunity to even spread to other slum areas where we've not been able to do. So what we did was we do a pre-survey and an outreach to those communities so we can identify them, basically to know the gatekeepers there. By gatekeepers, I mean the leaders there, people who have like mind, people who are influencers there, people who hold the community down. So if we are able to get them, explain to them, they are the one that will call us in and then explain to them what we are trying to do here. Tell them who we are. That is, if we're not there before, we've not been there before, we explain to them who we are, what we stand for, and then what we do. Then on this particular project, we explain to them that okay, we are working in conjunction with the Ministry of Environment in Lagos State. And this is for a particular reason, just for the climate change, for the evil that is already in the global warming, so that Lagos State can have an actionable plan towards using it or eradicating it. Then it is then they can now see what you're trying to say. They cannot understand that okay, that this project is actually for their own interest. And then try to tell them that it's not because government is trying to come over and take their livelihood or take over their land. We need to bring that into perception so that they will be able to accept us. That we do always. That is between bridging the trust issue between government and the citizen. So that we start in the middle and then let them understand that why we need to assist the government so that the government can then assist them further. Then at the same time, there is another issue between even us talking to them and choosing that we are interviewing. Because part of the survey involves asking questions and then very long listed questions like that. So we need to explain to them that look, We know we're taking bit of your time, but this is for the interest of the world entirely. Let them see the big picture. Not let them see that what we're trying to do here doesn't really end at that small location where they are. Let them see that the issue we're trying to tackle here goes beyond that little community as it affects. Let them see the reason as it affects the global community of the world. Then we come with them to talk to them. We've actually trained ourselves on the modules and the way by which we'll be able to talk to our people, that we can cordially speak to them in a way and a language that they will understand. Our pre-survey to those localities have helped us to identify the languages being spoken in those communities, and then the people who are the leaders there. So they will now be the one to let us to give an opportunity to ask their questions. Then we'll explain to them. Then they will now be able to tell us, okay, fine, you come on so dates. We will have been able to tell our community members when you'll be coming. Sometimes too, they will make arrangements for us to speak to some of the other community members who are interested in knowing the actual reasons why we're there. They will do that before we start the real survey. That's how we've been able to bridge the trust between us and the government, and between even us and the citizens that we are interviewing to. Then, some of the things that also help us is the fact that being an existing traditional member, we are able to create a branded shirt that have indicated the kind of project that we are trying to do. So each time we go into that community, people ask questions of those shirts. They want to know what it means. Go green. Why are we going green? What are we doing? We're trying to explain to them the reasons what it means. That we are trying to let people know that on this survey, Lagos State will have an opportunity of drawing an actionable plan to eradicate or reduce, understand, the action of the climate change in Lagos State. During the survey, there are challenges too, which is also linked up to the trust issue. Each time there are communities that we go to, they might be thinking that government has something to give to them. The government actually will have to give them money. They are expecting what will benefit from the survey, but it's our duty to let them understand what the implication and the reasons for this survey is. It's not for government to come and pay them, but it's got to trust government that once government have this survey, after this survey, it's not just going to be something we just do and then we just give it to government and there it ends. But this survey will give us, we highlight certain conclusions that will make us fashion out the actionable plan, things that government can actually do to solve certain issues in the community. For instance, there are communities where what they do mostly there is they fry and roast their fishes. That's what they do always. That's what they do most of the time. Now, using the survey for the household, their energy, we know that what they are doing, using their source of energy that they use to do all these things is they burn charcoal, they burn wood. We'll try to explain to them that these are one of the reasons why we are having this climate change. But government, knowing that you people are here now, that this is what you do, government is not ready to take over your livelihood or violate your right from your right of livelihood. But instead, government can, because of this now, look in another measure of maybe creating a place where you people can be doing your drying of your fishes or frying of your fishes in a more conducive way that will be less harmful to the environment. All these things are what will now make people to appreciate what we're doing and then give us their consent and that will answer those long listed questions.
And so, if you want to like draw some parallels and some differences between what has been just said about India, one of the main difference is that there's actually a lack of data around informal settlements in Nigeria. And it's very common when looking at official documents or looking at documents that come from the government, maps, for example, that you will see some places that are left blank, although we know that this is where the community are. And so the actual reason for this study to be done was that when starting to develop the climate resilient action plan, the Lagos state was like, they didn't have any or no updated data for the informal settlement. So we were here to like fill the gap in the data and making sure that all the realities that were lived by the members of the committee were part of the plan, and so no one were left behind. So I don't know if you want to add anything or if you want to share a specific story of something that happened to you on the fieldwork one day.
Okay, let me share this. Because so many things happen on the field, and then there are times when we need to share it so that we also learn. Just like our colleagues in India, telling us what they pass through them. There was a community. The name of that community is Ibari community. It's under Ifakonjai in Lagos State. Now, during our pre-survey here, we went there, and then we were able to meet with the community leader. It's actually the valet there. That's the valet, is what we call them here, the valet, the community leader. Now, by the time we explained to him what we intend to come and do in his community, he was trying to tell us that we should just hold on. That I need to understand this. While we are now discussing with him, we discovered that what he does is that he has some pile-up of woods and charcoal. He does some burning and some frying in large quantity. So the moment we explained to him that we want to come and do source of energy, trying to let him understand why we need to reduce the burning of this coal and charcoal and their effect in the community, he was apprehensive. He felt that the next thing government will do is government is coming to his community to stop him from doing what he's doing without giving him any alternative. So it was apprehensive, but we were able to sit him down, let him understand that that is not what government is trying to do. But we all need to understand the effects of what we do and take responsibility in our hand. That this we are doing, there's a better way that we can do this. Possibly by the time this survey is done and you're able to put it in the survey, this is what's happening. The survey is not going to be that we are going to be asking everybody, every household, but we have been a sampling method that we have used to capture the activity in all the areas. So if this is injected into the survey now, government knows that this is happening, then they can inform the government, and government cannot think of a better way by which to capture this issue. It's on them that they now begin to see reasons before it gives us access. Now, I'm going to be telling you about another example in Agege. Agege, we went there. We tried to explain to them what we intend to come and do in their community. They took us to their leaders. We explained to them chains of leaders like that. We did all that. Then after that, we received call. There was a member of that community that is an elected honorable member in the local government. The man called. He's one of the honorable. He called and asked us that he was the one that instructed them that they will not give us a go-ahead to come to their community. And that's one thing I was mentioned here. Each time we enter into a community, the leaders, the gatekeepers, as we so call them, they are the ones to give us the go-ahead. We try to liaise with them, explain all what we need to do with them. So they will now, once they see reason, they will accept us, and then we can now move to the community. Now, the man in this example now was saying that, oh, that there has been some organization that has came there before, promising the community that they were going to do that, they're going to do this, that they even went as far as collecting money from individuals in the community, only for them to discover that they've only come to swindle them. And for that reason, in that community, they have made it a mandate that no organization will just come in. And now that we are saying that we are also having this, what we want to do in conjunction with the Ministry of Environment in Lagos State. So I took my time to explain to him what who we are as a federation member. that naturally we are not under the government, but we are a body and organization of our own, that we are for the interest of the slum and the informal settlers. And I was able to show him some of our past antecedents and precedents that we've been doing, works that we did before. So he now look at it and say, okay, then how will he believe us? Then we're able to tell him exactly how far we have gone with the Ministry of Environment, in connection with the commissioner there. They now see reasons. That's okay. Then give us the go ahead. Now I'm saying this for us to understand how the trust issue could help or could affect survey work. If they fail to trust us, or we fail to bring ourselves to the level where they can trust us for what we want to do, then the survey will not be complete. They will have issues. We will not be able to do the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Shola. I think you made it clear for anyone that why is it important to include and everyone that is being part of any studies. So I think it's over to you, Dada.